What's up, everybody? This is Ahmed with A. Roberson Photo, A. Roberson Media, and today we're getting back to my photography. Yes, I know some of you may have been tired of me struggling with my lighting issues for vlogging, but now I'm going to get back to what I know best, and that is my photography. And my question for you, question of the day is, does a current model 4550 30-40-50 megapixel camera make you a better photographer, especially compared to an older 12.3, 12.1 megapixel camera? I say no, but let's go inside and find out. What's up, everybody? This is Ahmed with A. Roberson Photo, A. Roberson Media, and my question that I asked in the intro is, does a fancier, newer, higher megapixel count camera, DSLR, make you a better photographer? I say no. As you may have seen in some of my older videos, I'm a professional photographer. I do fashion photography, product photography, mostly commercial and product photography now, but I've done it all. I've done the landscape, I've done the architecture photography, I've done seascape photography, nightscape photography. Now my primary focus is product photography and product videography, soon to be film minutes and all that stuff, but I digress. Let's get back to what I was talking about, which is, do older DSLRs basically make your images obsolete? No! This is my trusty, one of my favorites, my Nikon D700. This thing, Nikon, look at that, D700, this thing is old, about as old as me. Well, there it is, Nikon D700, about as old as I am, but this thing still works like it's new, and my image quality speaks for itself. And please do not take that as me bragging. I'm just saying that my image quality matches up with those that I've seen that were taken with newer cameras like the Nikon D850 or the Canon Mark D, 5D, 7D. I'm a Nikon shooter. I don't follow Canon that much. I think they have a 90D. And they're high megapixel cameras, 35, 45 megapixel cameras, and they take great images. I mean, Nikon, Canon, it's been an ongoing battle, kind of like Apple and Android. You know, it's just, honestly, it's user preference. I mean, you're not going to be able to look at a Canon image and a Nikon image and say, oh, that was shot with a Canon or that was shot with a Nikon. Maybe years ago, but today, I don't think so. But anyway, I shoot with my full frame FX. Let's see, where does it say that? Yeah, somewhere down there. My FX full frame Nikon D700, and also I have my DX. Does it say that on there? Not necessarily. Nope. Well, on the lens, DX Nikon D300. This is even more of a favorite than my D700, and the image quality is just as good with both. I've done fashion photography with this bad boy, same thing with that bad boy. I've done product photography with both, and if you're wondering how can I be a 14, nearly 15-year veteran professional photographer using old gear like this, couple of reasons. Number one, I'm old school. I like my DSLRs to be DSLRs, not hybrid DSLR / video, even if it's 4K video, which is great. And they do, I mean, look how many YouTube vloggers do that today, and it's excellent quality. I vlog on a Panasonic WXF1 and a Panasonic VX-A70K camcorder. I like the camcorders better. Like I said, I'm old school. I like the camcorder to do what the camcorder does. I like my DSLRs to do what the DSLR does, and that's take still photography. Also, I don't necessarily like the cameras with the articulating lenses or the LCD screens. It all seems gimmicky to me. Not that it necessarily is, but for me, I'm old school. I like my stuff to do what their original intent was to do, and that was to take still photography, and that's what I do. But does the newest, or one of the newer Nikon models, the Nikon D850, I believe it has a 45.2 or 45.7 megapixel sensor. I mean, does it necessarily take greater images than my 12.1 and 12.3 megapixel D300 and D700? I say no, but let's go ahead and look at this screen recording that I did, showing you some of my images versus some of the Nikon D850 images, and you let me know what you think. We're gonna be focused on photo. Now that I'm pretty much happy with how I got my lighting set up, now I can get down to the business, my business, what I do as a freelancer, and that is photography. And today I want to talk about older versus newer DSLRs. I mean, does it actually make that much of a difference? I mean, yeah, most DSLR manufacturers in the megapixel race with 34, 50, and so on megapixel cameras, but believe it or not, I've been doing this for almost 14 years and I still use older DSLRs. I mean, I think one of Nikon's most current newest models is the Nikon D850, which is a great camera. I have nothing against that, but I still use Nikon D700s and Nikon D300s. So let me just check really quickly. I was looking up other cameras like the Nikon D850. As you see here, release date was September 2017. Let's do Nikon D700 release date and see where that comes up. July 2008, and I'm still using that camera today. And we're in 2020 now, February of 2020. And let me just go one more. I use a Nikon D300 still, and that was released in 2007. And these are what, 12.3 megapixel cameras, and the D700 12.1 megapixel camera versus the D850, which is what, a 34 megapixel. Let's see, megapixels on the D850, 45.7. That is insane. But what I want to do is I want to show you a comparison between the aforementioned cameras and see if that 45.7 megapixels is that much greater than my 12.3 megapixel cameras. I already know the answer. I'd say no. I mean, yeah, of course you're going to get some more finite detail out of the 45.7 megapixels, or even the Canon, for your Canon shooters, the EOS 90D. What is that? The Mark III, one of those series cameras. I know it's one of their professional line cameras. I mean, I'm not a Canon guy, so I don't know, but that was released in October 2019. And let's see what the megapixels are on that one. 32.5 megapixels. I mean, that's significant, especially compared to the older cameras that I'm using, the Nikon D700 and Nikon D300. But what I wanted to show you is, sorry about the noise, my keyboard all over the place, some of my fashion work that I done with my Nikon D300, even Nikon D90 back in the day. I mean, and let me clarify really quickly before I continue. One of the reasons why I still have my older cameras is A, it works. B, the megapixels are not that significant. I mean, I know sometimes non-professional shooters may grab a camera and think the more megapixels, the better it's going to be, kind of like with cell phones. But I mean, if you zoom into cell phone pictures, no matter if it has 1 billion megapixels, you always see that noise, and it's due to sensor size. I mean, but I don't want to go too far into that. But going back to some of my fashion photography, let's take this image right here. This was taken with Nikon D300, I believe, but just to be sure, what I did was I already have my folder queued up. Let me see if I have that particular image. Well, I don't have that particular image queued up yet, but let me go to another one of my favorites. Where is that image? It's in here somewhere. Well, here it is. This one. I think this is a beautiful image. I'm pretty much proud of myself for this one. This is one of my favorites. And let me bring up that particular image, and I want to show you something. Here's that image right there, same image, right? I'm going to right click on that. We're going to go to properties, and I just want you to see this was taken in 2013 with Nikon D200. Nikon D200, that's even older. But again, you know, regardless of the megapixel count on a Nikon D200, which is, matter of fact, let's find out. Nikon D200 megapixels. Let's see. Where do we have that information? 10.2 megapixel. And also, just for the record, I've printed some of my own work and sold it and kept it and put it in my own home, and I'll take some B footage and show you that. But I've printed some of my own work with my Nikon D300 and D700 12-point megapixel cameras, and I've made 30 by 40 poster size prints. 30 by 40 with a 12-point megapixel camera, and there's no degrading in quality, not at all whatsoever. I mean, yeah, they say, I mean, if you want to pixel peep and get up on it with a magnifying glass, I mean, who really does that? Especially when your magnifying glass is as dusty as mine. But who really does that? You know what I mean? I mean, that's just pointless. Nobody's gonna take a photo and stare at it this close just to look at the megapixel count, right? And I think the art viewing standard is 3 feet. You know, like for example, if somebody's painting on canvas, you don't want to be so close to it where you can see the actual web of the canvas. That ruins the quality of the image. So you want to stand back so you can actually absorb the image and not pixel peep, you know? So anyway, I digress. Let me get back to my beauty image. I think this image is exceptionally sharp, exceptionally well taken, and that's not me patting myself on the back. I'm just saying, as we're talking about older cameras, much older cameras, the D200 release date, let's see. Nikon D200 release date was 2005. 2005, that's 15 years ago. 15 years ago. So let's go to my image really quick, and even if we zoom in on it, I mean, look at the sharpness and the clarity here. So, you know, yeah, you could do the same thing with a Nikon D850, and look at the clarity here. You know, this is exceptional, good quality imagery. This is from the Nikon page itself, Nikon D850. But also, you got to consider it's a lot of Photoshop involved in this too. You know, that's your secret weapon. That's your secret sauce. The Photoshop is key, because even with a good camera like a Nikon D850, that quality, you're still gonna have to retouch your image and make it as best you possibly can. You don't want to take all your images on manual settings and just hope everything comes out perfect. We're not, you know, you're not going to spray and pray and just hope you get a good shot. You want to actually take a good shot. But I mean, look at the quality, the sharpness of it. But aside from good megapixel cameras and quality DSLRs, whether it be Nikon or Canon or Pentax or even Kodak back in the day, you know, whatever your preference is, what is it? What's the other company I'm thinking? I can't think of the company right now, but I know that some of the top cameras in the market, Nikon, Pentax, Canon, those are some of the bigger names, especially Canon versus Nikon. That's an ongoing battle that'll be going on forever in the day. But let's go and look at some other images. This image here, this website is 500px, one of my favorite websites. I believe this image was taken with a Nikon D850. And that's a pretty good image. I mean, you can see they did a little Photoshop's a little heavy there. You see the halo behind there, which is not necessarily my favorite thing, but it's still a quality image. Whereas, let's go into some more of my work really quickly, and let's see if I can bring up a landscape image of mine that I think I did a pretty good job on. This is one of my favorites here. Let's see. I think it's pretty good. I think it's comparable to that D850 image. And let's see. Let's look at the properties on this really quickly. Let's see. Nikon D300. Yep, there you go. You know, so again, here I am, a professional photographer. I do this for my living, and I'm still using older cameras. So, and again, one of the reasons why I keep my older camera is, I think I mentioned two of the reasons that I keep it, but my most important reason is I'm old school. I like my cameras for DSLRs for still imagery. I don't like to use hybrid cameras that do video and photography. Not saying anything's wrong with that, but it seems gimmicky to me, seems fad-like to me, and it's just not my cup of tea. You know, I mean, not bashing anybody who uses them, not saying you're less of a pro that if you use a camera like that, but for me, for my needs, it's just not something that I particularly care about. But going back to some of these images, I mean, this is my website, of course, a lot of my fashion photography, some of my favorite images, and these are all taken with either a Nikon D90, which is old, Nikon D200, super old, Nikon D300 or 700. Even if you go into some of my advertising images, these are all taken with my current cameras that I'm using right now, my Nikon D300, Nikon D700. You know, I mean, the imagery speaks for itself. At least I would hope so. I would like to think that that'd be the case. So, to the question of does higher megapixel count camera make better imagery? Yes and no. Yeah, if you pixel peep, yeah, you might see something, but not necessarily. Again, like I said, I brought up that image, that fashion image I brought up with the young lady, you know, super close, super crisp, high quality, image quality. Actually, let me bring up one more. Let's see. Even when I did fashion with male models, here's another one that I did. I think this one came out really good just as well. And let's see, let me just zoom in really quickly. Let me zoom in a little bit closer to that. I mean, skin tone, skin quality, definition, detail. I mean, I think it's on point, you know. And let's look at the properties of that really quickly. And the properties say Nikon D200. Nikon D200. I mean, I think it speaks for itself. But also, what is another important factor in getting quality imagery is not just using a DSLR or a mirrorless camera with a high megapixel count. It's the lenses. It's the quality of glass that you use, whether you be shooting with Canon, Nikon, Pentax, whatever the case may be. High quality lenses is everything. It's life. I mean, you can't skimp out and buy cheap lenses with a good high quality megapixel DSLR and expect to get good quality imagery. I mean, the sensor is picking up what the lens is seeing, right? So if you feed poor quality into a good quality camera, your output is going to be poor quality. It goes without saying. So for me, do I feel the need to buy an updated camera? Yeah, when my cameras finally die, but chances are I'm just going to look online and buy another used Nikon D700, which is full frame, or Nikon D300, which is a digital DX, digital crop frame sensor. So, I mean, even with my product photography, crisp, clean imagery, you know, regardless if I'm doing it with a Nikon D300, D700, whatever the case may be. So, again, does a higher megapixel camera make a difference? Yes, probably, but is it going to make your images just great just because? Absolutely not. It just doesn't work that way. I used to think that way when I first got into photography. I buy a good DSLR and I thought I was a professional right off the bat. Hey, I got a DSLR. I took pictures. They came out sharp and crisp. I'm the man. Absolutely not. It takes a lot more than that, more than just the camera, more than just good lenses. I mean, yeah, the good lenses are important, but it's not just good lens, good camera, and good image. You got to know what you're doing too. That's an important factor just the same. But let me stop rambling, and I was just going through a couple of more images taken with the Canon 90D, and let's see if I could find a image taken with Nikon D300s. I mean, honestly, you put up a Canon 90D or a 7D Mark II or whatever the case may be next to a Nikon camera, you're not going to be able to tell which is which. I mean, it's all the same. It's kind of like Apple and Android. I'm an Android guy. Some people are Android. We banter back and forth about which might be better, but I mean, the truth of the matter is, it just comes down to user preference. I work on a PC. Some people say, oh, your photography would be better if it was on a Mac. That's not true. I know a lot of photographers that are way better than me, and they work on a PC. And I know some that are way worse than me that work on a Mac. Doesn't matter. I know photographers who shoot with the latest and greatest Nikon cameras, and I'm shooting with old models that were made in 2010 and 2012 and whatnot, and my images come out better than theirs. So megapixel race, guaranteed quality? Not necessarily. So anyway, sorry about rambling and talking your ear off, but I just wanted to give my perspective on which might be better, or if you think one is better, if you can recognize the difference, or just because of the megapixel count. And I say no. So anyway, just wanted to show you some of my work and give my perspective on the newer cameras versus the older. So after looking at my screen capture and my rambling, sorry, I like to talk a lot. After looking at my screen capture and my rambling, what did you conclude? What did you decide? Do you think it necessarily makes a difference just because you're shooting with a 30, 32, 35, 40, 50 megapixel camera that your image quality is just going to be that much greater? No. So what does it boil down to? For me, it ultimately boils down to glass, lenses, quality lenses. That makes a difference. I shoot with prime lenses, but I also have zoom lenses too, you know, but mostly the work, when I do my high-end work, I shoot with a prime lens. This is a Sigma 150 millimeter f2.8. This is a very sharp, extremely crisp, high quality prime lens. But also, when I shoot on my Nikon D300, my DX lens, oh, that lens is a full frame lens. I mean, you can use it on DX crop as well, but it's a full frame lens. But also the 35 millimeter 1.8 G. Yeah, it's not the 1.4 beautiful Nikon lens, but still, for the image quality, for the images that I shoot, I honestly don't necessarily shoot in f1.8 anymore. So I don't necessarily need that f1.4 type lens. I don't do fashion photography pretty much anymore. Most of my work is strictly product photography. And with product photography, my lenses usually stop down somewhere around f10, f8, anywhere between f8 and even f13 sometimes. It just depends. Just depends on what I'm shooting. So, but anyway, it ultimately boils down to glass. Yeah, if you're gonna pixel peep and maybe make big billboards that you see off the freeway or on the side of a building or something, yeah, you might be able to, or you might need Nikon D850 with 45 megapixels or something like that. But for everyday printing, matter of fact, like I said in my rambling, if you look at some of my B footage, some of the prints that I print around my own home, that was taken with a Nikon D300, Nikon D700. Those are 12.1 and 12.3 megapixel cameras, and the images that I show you, those are 30 by 40 prints, and they're not poor quality. You know, they're not pixelated. They don't look bad when you zoom in close to them. They look just as good as I would imagine they would look if you took it with a Nikon D850 or Canon 90D or something like that. Yeah, again, if you're super close to it, if you're right there up on it, of course you're gonna see every pixel, every dot, every imperfection, but I think the rule of thumb is you're supposed to be at least 3 feet away when you appreciate art. So 3 feet away, are you really gonna be able to pixel peep? Not necessarily. So does it matter? I think not. What do you think? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you next time.